First thing on the agenda is approval, let's see, approval of the minutes.
Approval of minutes of February 2nd and January 26th, 2016.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And then we're gonna move, number 20. The top, that's the discussion relative to Heartbreakers security plan. Now, everybody had it, have they, read it over? Have we read it over?
Yes.
Okay, do you have any questions or any discussion on it, or?
Actually, we have a question.
Sorry?
Jessica and I have a question.
What?
Would it be something that you're amenable to put, include in the plan, have video available to police officers within 48 hours of a police officer's request?
That's not a problem.
That's not a problem. We always offer the video right away.
And secondly, I know in some of the reports that the video is shown that the place is, like, I know it's dark inside. Is there any technology that you can have to make the videos, I guess, a little bit more visible, like a night technology?
That's something that we would have to check in with our IT people with, but I'm sure there are. I mean, with the technology today, infrared cameras and stuff like that. Yeah.
They're a lot better than what was there.
But yeah, we're definitely willing to do that.
Okay, is that it? Does anybody else have anything? Well, do I have a motion then? I would say it's just a communication file, yeah.
Move to place on file.
Second.
Okay, question. Do you want it as part of their security, their operation plan?
Operations plan?
Yeah. That's something we would have to do an agreement then to include it as part of the operation plan.
You'll just send it because we have no problem with going along with that.
Yeah.
It's perfectly reasonable.
Sure, we could do that.
So as amended?
Yeah, I'll move an amendment that it's, the amendment is that it's part of their operation, to make it part of their operation plan as soon as practical, let's say.
I
Okay.
can show the cameras.
There's a motion and amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second on the amendment. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Now on this, place on file as amended or
I would
approved?
just put it on hold for, I guess, put it on hold for now until we get the actual operation plan and get it, so you can make sure it's approved and that everything goes.
Okay, you withdraw your motion and your second then on
I'll withdraw.
the place on file.
And I'll
Okay.
withdraw my second.
Okay, so we'll just hold that and then we'll come back another time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, I'm gonna take, before we get into the long discussions on these items, do you have any, let's get the,
Compliance check stuff out of the way?
okay, I'm gonna try to get a couple of these other ones. Because these are probably take a little bit longer, so I wanna get these things here. So, number 5, Dale Chrisbaum, Blackport.
Yeah, you gotta look at the, got it right here. 015. There it is.
Okay, you know why you're here?
I got a notice that said I had to be here because of an incident on the 12th. I never got the paperwork mailed to me at the house like indicated.
About the incident?
Well, I know about the incident.
Okay. And what's your recollection? Were you there? You know, you weren't there, were you?
I was there.
You was there. Okay. And you say you didn't read the police report?
I've not received it, no.
Well, we don't usually mail, you have to go get the police report from them.
Okay.
Does anybody have anything right offhand?
Mr. Chair, it just appears
Hold the roll.
like this person was overserved.
No.
No, I'm just wondering what I'm reading
Well,
here.
he came
just
into our
wait.
place.
No, just, our police report says
Yeah.
highly intoxicated and under the influence of drugs.
Oh. I don't believe he was overserved at our place. When he came in, he ordered a mini pitcher of beer. He paid for it. He played a couple of games of pool. The reason why we asked him to leave is because he was misbehaving. He couldn't keep his
Right.
hands off people.
Right.
When we had him outside, he was on the phone and talking irrationally and talking about how he was talking to Shauna, the previous owner, and how he was going to have somebody come over and cut us up.
3-time previous owner.
Yeah, 2 owners ago actually. And you know, we just put him off property. I did call 911. and was on the phone with the dispatcher, trying to get him off my property. And apparently other things happened after he left my place.
Okay. Someone else have?
Mr. Chair,
Alden Weigel.
my reading of the police report was that, no, you stayed on your property the entire time,
Never left the property.
and your bartender,
He was down the street a little bit, yes.
okay. Your bartender wasn't involved in any kind of physical altercation.
He was not, no. He did not, he told me he did not do anything. I did lose sight of him for a short time because there's a big bush by the neighbor's house. But because of my phone communication with dispatcher, I couldn't actually get any farther past my truck because I was connected to the,
And no one else from your business was involved?
no. No, there was nobody really there that night. We
Nobody
had
else?
a
Nobody
couple of
else?
female customers sitting at the
And
bar.
what, what time was this?
Oh,
I'm trying to remember, it was after dark though, right?
11:30? No, you don't think so?
It's like it's
Yeah,
10:40.
Christine just,
it was,
22:47. Okay, thank you.
because there's witness statements that at least seem to me like somebody, I mean, put the guy in the hospital.
Which I found out the next day from his sister about what actually happened. I also found out the next day from John Starr across the street from me that he had put him out
He had kicked him out,
because he
yeah.
couldn't pay for his beer. And watched him walk all the way up the street, and he came in my back door. Again, he didn't seem
So
overly.
he couldn't pay for the beer across the street, but
But
he
he
had
paid-
money by you, so he just refused to pay across the
Most
street.
likely, yes. But again, he ordered and paid for a mini pitcher, went back to the back room and played two rounds of pool. Wasn't stumbling around or anything.
You know, that's not why you're here. The concern is that he left your place and was kicked out of your place, and then somebody beat him up severely.
I understand that.
You know, and it was in very close proximity to your location. I understand there's no charges are being brought, right? Did I read that all correctly? Yeah, there's no charges being brought. That's just the disturbing part, is that you had a customer in your place, and you put him out, you know, you kicked him out, and then something really bad happened to him.
You know, since we've opened, we've tried to clean up that location quite steadily as far as the type of people that come in there. We don't allow the misbehaving. We don't allow the overdrinkers. And those people that do stumble into our place, we have made sure they had rides home. We've called taxis and paid for them. We've done all kinds of different things that maybe were out of the ordinary of regular establishments around us. But, you know, I feel bad for this young man, but I don't know what happened. Again, I never left my property. I don't know what happened around the corner. I know that we witnessed him going all the way to 62nd Street. How he ended back up on 61st Street, we have no idea. I know that Michael was taken down for questioning. I know when he came back, the sergeant did tell me that he was cleared, that he didn't have any blood evidence on him or anything.
I read that, no, they
So,
took this,
yeah, so,
Okay, we just,
and Michael was just filling in that night because my regular guy is out with a severe eye infection.
you know, it's very disturbing, you know, this person was beat up enough that he probably could have been killed. And to, you know, so he's just walking down the street and some total stranger came walking up and beat him up, you know, it just, you know, it's scary, and we don't really wanna hear this stuff going on.
I
you know,
think
coming from a
we're
bar.
all aware
So-
that
so-
he was in and out of several bars
Right.
that night, and if he was behaving the way he was behaving at my place, not being able to keep his hands off this person sitting next to me, which was disturbing enough to me, but he was doing that at other bars also. I'm sure that somebody was
Irritated
looking
somebody.
for him.
Okay, do I have a motion on this? Or do I have any further discussion?
Well, the only discussion I have is that, reading the report, the one thing that you did do is you called 911.
Yes.
So you did call. After that, it is questionable what happened. We're probably not gonna know.
Well, you know, I sat there with the police officer right away. We reviewed every piece of film that we could bring up on the cameras. See, my cameras right now are limited to just the perimeter of my building. Later on, when funds are available, I'd like to expand that a little bit more. That's an expensive endeavor. So, but you know, I feel bad for this young man. You know, but it did not involve Papas.
Prior to that, you did everything right. You kicked him out. You called 911, which is what we want people to do, so I move to place on file.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Scott,
Number.
number 6 we're on. Guys,
Got it.
Giesecke. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, this is from Captain Nix. I called you in here, and the reason I called in because it was saying, you know, the video showed how much the person had to drink there. You know, and you know, we constantly are hearing how, you know, people are overserved. You know, people are served after they're already intoxicated, and this person obviously was very intoxicated when he was in his car. Now, if you would have made it out of your parking lot and down the street, you know, it might have been a little different. But as far as what did it say? How much did he drink there?
6 mini pitchers.
6 mini pitchers
In 3 hours.
And something else.
Bottle of MGD in 3.5 hours.
In 3 hours. Yeah.
I think that's a lot, right?
3 mini pitchers by himself? I don't know if I could get up and walk.
I don't know. I don't know if
It was
it's
overserved. Is that
how much is a mini pitcher?
Well,
32 ounces.
32 ounces, but that would be if it was 32 ounces of water. You probably have a little head on it.
Correct.
So it's probably, call it 28. But I don't know.
And that's my concern, and that's why I called you in, because it's just, you know, we got to be able to. I mean, fortunately, this guy didn't get out of your parking lot.
He was on the street,
Yeah.
because there's no parking.
He was in the
Oh.
parking lot.
It wasn't a parking lot?
Yeah, it was in
Hit
front.
a parked car, maybe.
He hit a parked car, he moved it back 6 or 8 feet.
So it just, you know, it's a concern of ours, and we see this stuff constantly. We heard with the last one where the guy was extremely intoxicated, you know, and so, but you know, we got to watch this stuff.
I understand that.
Anybody else have anything on? Do I have a motion?
Move to place on file.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, then we have the, this report. Okay, check that they have.
You can start on item number 7.
7, 8, I believe 7, 8, and 9. There's 2 people.
You want to bring them all up together?
Yeah, we'll bring them all together.
So if you're from Dickens,
Dickens,
Senior
Senior Soul,
and West Dallas Liquor and Tobacco, come on up, have a seat.
yeah.
Oh, here, go ahead. Or just
Okay, you're from
Dickens?
Dickens.
West Dallas.
Okay,
And you're the named people in the paperwork here, right?
yeah, you're Jeffrey,
Yes.
you're Jeffrey, you're Antonio,
Yes.
and
Well, is it under the owner's name or the person who got the ticket?
Well, who are you?
Sukhdeep Randava, the owner.
that's what it's on. Well, yeah, you're the agent.
Okay.
And that's who
I
it is
don't
we
know
mentioned,
who's
the
name,
agent.
yeah.
Okay, now, did any of you serve that person?
No.
Was it bartender?
I'm my waiter.
Oh, is this, oh, okay.
They come at the table. One of my waiters serve.
Who's sitting at a table at your? I guess you have a very small bar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They said they came to the table, sit at the table, and he asked for a beer and never question it.
Who are you, Dickens?
Senior Soul?
Senior Soul.
Oh, okay.
So, and, so, did you, I mean, obviously you have a policy not to serve people underage.
Course.
Did you ask him why you didn't ask him for his?
He probably be a little busy, and what a police officer said, she kind of understand because the fella was with her was big and stocky and a little over 20. I mean, it's not an excuse.
Over 21, not over 20.
It was a little over 20. It
Well,
was not
the
21.
person was.
The person was
It
20.
was a little over 20.
yeah.
It was not quite 21, it was 20. I mean, it's happened, and it happened 12, 13
It's-
years. And
Yeah,
First time.
it's, you know, it's close, but we do these,
Compliance.
pardon me?
Compliance check.
Yeah, compliance. Yeah, we do these compliance checks, you know, for a reason, because we want to make sure that everybody is complying to our laws. We, as a committee, we want them to do this, and we back the police in doing them. you know, this person, maybe he looked a little bit older, but, you know, you should always be asking, you know, because some of this thing can happen before. And so, you know, the person's still working for you and everything? Or?
Actually, it's not working. That night they went out and break his leg.
Oh, jeez.
You broke his leg?
Yeah, I broke his leg. Even when a police officer there, I even told him.
Keep that from happening. Mr. Chair, I think the point is, we want owners and agents to understand how serious this is. Yeah, we had some pushback. Well, this guy looked, he was 20, he had a beard. Well, you know, think about it from our side. Should we send a 12-year-old out on these compliance checks? No. The person certainly should look close to 21 or, you know, whatever, you know. Because, you know, I was going to card a 12-year-old or somebody who looks like they're 12, you know, so, and it's important, you know, so. And the question is, we want to make sure that you guys are taking this seriously and that you've taken some steps. I mean, what are you doing? Are you doing anything differently now? Or is it just you're sending a message to your employees, hey, this is important because we will be back?
I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've installed a POS system now at the store, so that you have to scan an ID before you can finish the transaction and stuff.
And the clerk just can't scan their own ID over
No,
and over again?
No.
Okay.
So, and everyone is being trained for that. That was like, you know, he's actually very good about checking, but it was right before closing, and I think it was a bad mistake, but those are the changes that we've made at the store for that.
Yeah.
So.
You know, going by how the person looked older and everything, he went to 12 places, only 4 sold. So other people, didn't think that he looked that old, so, or just more cautious. So
Yeah.
No, definitely a mistake.
And I think word's getting out also.
Yes.
This is happening. We are doing these compliance checks. Tell everyone else.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Did you talk to the person that you?
Who served him? Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, I made it clear that it can't happen again. You know?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Alderman Barzak.
just to add on, I think the best policy is probably pick and save. I go buy beer at Pick and Save, and they check my ID every time, which is what you put in the same policy.
Exactly.
The easiest policy to have is we check all IDs. I know Kipson went into it. I was in there the other night, and they had a person that probably was about my age and asked them for their ID. And the guy at first was, I'm sorry, we check all IDs if we don't know who you are. Great policy, because all the person's going to do during a compliance check is going to try to buy a beer. And as soon as you say, do you have an ID, that person walks out. He doesn't fumble and try to give you something fake. No, I don't have one. And then we've had people serve them after that, one time. But they're not going to produce an ID. So best thing to do, ask for the ID. And I know there's a lot of people in here that are getting bartender license for the first time. And it's just a really, really good thing to do is ask everybody for your ID. I don't care if they look 40, 50, 60. Ask for an ID. It's not hard. And if it's your policy, you're never going to get caught, ever.
Okay. Anything further? Do I have a motion on 7, 8, 9?
Move to place on file.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Just, Mr. Chairman,
Alderman
just a
Bartlett.
little quick follow-up. We have 3 strikes, you're out. So happens 3 times, you're in front of us, you could be looking at revocation at that particular point. So just kind of a warning. I think a lot of you, it's your first time.
Yeah.
But just let you know that if it's repeats, we start looking at taking action.
No, understandable.
There was a 4th business, Butch's, and I don't see them here. Can you explain why they're not called to the
Yes.
table?
Because of me. I was asked by the Director of Development if they could not be here, and I said yes, and that was before you called me and I talked to you on the other thing, about his rant that he called upon, so.
They were very disrespectful, and I'm disappointed that they're not here. Because out of all these people, they're the ones that gave us the worst time. These people were all understanding, and the one person that gave police pushback, they're not at this table.
No,
I think they need to
I'm
be
taking
here.
blame for it because of it was through the development issue and I should have checked with you first before that. So, but
I would rather
we'll
see
see.
him here and these 3 people not here.
Okay.
Well stated.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, Wendy Castro. 10. I'm gonna keep going on 8 because these are a little quicker. And
Yes.
the other one's gonna take a long time. And people
Yeah,
can say.
because we have to look them up. We have to cross.
Number 10.
Got it.
Okay, this is a,
100. Oh, she only has like
for a new license.
tiny little blemish.
And you're gonna be at across the street. Okay, speeding ticket.
Mr. Chair?
Hold on, Michael.
Wendy, you're in here because you left something off your application. You got a recent
I didn't get the ticket until
after you
Yeah.
applied. And I think really that's it. But
Okay.
we're gonna give you the same speech. And anybody else in here applying for a bartending license tonight, just listen. You don't have to come up, but you'll be coming up here eventually. But we want bartenders to be partners with the good guys. You know, you heard, if you were listening, you saw we've had a couple occasions where people have been overserved. You've taken the class, you know it's against the law to overserve somebody. If you have a license, it's actually against the law if you do it. We don't typically go after bartenders for that kind of thing. We want you to be our partner. So when there's a problem, and I really don't think there's gonna be a problem at Double B's, you know. But if there's a problem, we want you to call the police. And when the police come, we want you to be helpful and say, here's a description of the guy, here's what I know about him, here's his nickname, whatever you know about him. Because there have been cases in the past, not real recently, but where the bartenders actually hid evidence or lied or whatever. Really don't want that going on.
Right.
You know, there will be occasions, and you just saw we had a couple of operators up here where they were caught serving people not 21, typically in a compliance check, and you'll get a very expensive ticket out of that if it's you. You know,
Yes.
it really costs you nothing to card the customer. I understand that maybe some customers are reluctant. Oh, you carding me? Well, guess what? That's your job. You know, you're not supposed to serve somebody that's not 21.
Correct.
So, did I forget anything?
I think you got it all.
Check IDs.
Check ID.
Okay.
And call the
Yep.
police.
And call.
If there's an issue, if you're ever thinking, should I or shouldn't I call the police? The answer is always call the
Call the
police.
police.
Yeah, as soon as it comes into your head, gee, maybe I
Do it.
pick
That's
up the
time.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move the place on file.
No.
Approve.
And
Approve.
place on file, sorry.
Also, the actions of this committee tonight.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, okay. Roll
The,
call.
the actions of this committee tonight still have to be voted on by the entire council at our next meeting, which is
next Tuesday, isn't it?
the next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything that comes out of here unanimously, or will likely go unanimously through the council, and then the license would be available for pickup the next day. That would be that Wednesday between say like 10 and 2 at the clerk's desk. And if you don't pick it up that day, it will go into the mail to the address that you have on your application. So if you moved or something, you're gonna have to figure that out.
Okay, so next Tuesday I can pick it up.
No, next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Next, no,
Because the
you'll
council
meet
votes on
next
it.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
the council will vote on our action, it goes to the full council
Tuesday.
next Tuesday evening. And then, so Wednesday would be available for pickup and use. So you don't have your license today.
Right.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Comp.
You could get a temporary though, but you'd have to pay for,
Jack Rhodes.
right.
Okay. You're new.
My District 2, I'll take it up.
Yeah.
You're
You heard
new.
the speech?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you're here because you have an OWI.
Yep.
And that means that at least on one occasion, you made a very bad choice for yourself.
6 years ago.
Yeah, 6 years ago, 5 years ago. But we're gonna be asking you to make that decision for your customers too, you know, so you understand the importance of that.
Yep.
You were honest, you put it on there, thank you, cause you know, we check. You paid the $7 for the record check, so you know we're checking.
Yep.
And, if you have multiple, like a couple more, especially in a short period of time, we will likely move to take your bartending license away. So it's an important thing to consider, and
Yeah.
again, watch out for your customers.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
No, move the place on file.
Approve. No,
Approve and place on file.
No, just approve.
And Rhodes second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Doing that.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Kimberly Beach. Jeez, I'm just knocking these down, eh? These names.
Yeah. Almost identical to the other application.
Okay, we have a new application, okay, that's, what's in bronze?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
All the way?
My district
Take it
again. You heard everything we told, you've been paying attention, I saw you nodding your head back there, thank
Yes.
you. One thing you have on your application, that you have a DUI that was dropped.
I had a DUI in 2009 that I was roofied actually at
In-
my work.
In
and-
East Troy?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a stipulation in that if I didn't get any trouble in 5 years, that it would be moved
Okay.
to a different offense. But if I got another one, it would be a second.
Okay.
So
Because I
I
think.
put it on there just
Yeah.
because I wasn't sure.
I think your record is showing that you were convicted.
Yes, I was convicted.
Okay.
And then the judge put a stipulation in
Okay.
there. I mean, I paid the fine and everything.
Yeah.
But he put a stipulation in there. If I didn't get in any trouble in 5 years, that he would. Because if I pull my record, it doesn't show. Like, I'm in nursing school, and when I applied, it didn't show up, so I wasn't sure. So I
Okay.
put it on there.
Well, you
just
put it
in
on there,
case.
thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Okay,
Move approval.
Second.
any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, what you might wanna do is just contact East Troy.
Okay.
Because it is showing up on here.
Okay.
And I can even, here, you can take that with you.
Wonderful, thank you.
So, you just might wanna contact them and say, hey, this is not supposed to be on here, and it is.
Okay.
And, just for your benefit.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Melissa Rumsey? Okay, we have
That's
another new license. And it's Broken Star. Have you part-time before?
Yes. I have my Milwaukee license.
Okay, and. Well, you're here because of the,
Cause she was too honest.
yeah, it doesn't even show up on here.
Well,
move
so
for
you heard what
approval.
you heard what we said about the importance. Apparently
Yeah.
you've had a problem once upon a time somewhere else in a land far away.
Mhm.
You're gonna watch out for yourself
Yeah.
and your customers.
Yeah, and you also heard the problem we had with the place right
That's
across
why.
the street. with
Yeah.
These people, you
I've
gotta
never
make sure
been
you
there,
don't
but
serve
I
them.
know it's there.
Yeah, so you just,
Yeah.
you gotta be careful with all that stuff. You never know who's walking through your door.
Yeah.
And so,
And they're obviously close by.
Yeah.
There.
Move to approve.
do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We opposed?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Tamia Maddox.
I guess, right?
Tammy?
It's right.
Tammy?
Okay, another new license. Oh, this is the,
Only for West Dallas, it's not.
pardon me?
Only for West Dallas, it's not.
Oh, right,
Yeah, she's had licenses in several communities, it looks like.
yeah. And, why are you here?
Mr. Chair?
Because when she was young,
Yeah, well, it's not that long, well, I suppose it is
16 years
16,
ago.
you know, so. Alderman Wang?
Well, I guess my concern is your record shows in 2001 in Germantown, resisting and obstructing an officer. Could you tell us what happened?
Those were read in on my battery charge. Actually, I got it I was released because I was found not in fault, and the DA charged me probably about 5 months later, because the guy that attacked me ended up with a broken nose and his head smashed open for me. So they switched it around because he was the one who got injured. They charged me because he pursued it.
So what you're saying is you didn't actually resist or obstruct an
No,
officer?
them charges all came later. The cops came, they took me from the bar, they watched the videotape, they even took me home.
So those are charges instead of assault?
No,
Is that what you're
they
saying?
actually read them in on my I think it turned out to be a disorderly conduct ticket
No,
that they gave me.
You were convicted of 2 crimes, resisting an officer and disorderly conduct. The substantial battery was dismissed and read in.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that
so-
was months later.
Yes, I was charged a couple months after that. The cops released me and took me home that night, because it was all on videotape.
Well, I tell you, it's always disturbing when we see that you don't cooperate with an officer. You know, you're sitting here, you listen to everything that we
Yes.
said. You always cooperate, you always call when a police officer comes, you do everything you can to assist that police officer, nothing to hinder that police officer.
Well, that's why I
It's
never
always a problem,
understood
so-
why I got the resisting, because we went right in, they watched the videotape, they even drove me home. The cops ain't supposed to drive you home. But they drove me home and dropped me off. They told me I was not in fault for that. I wasn't charged with anything that night. These charges didn't come until a couple months later. I got a letter in the mail from the DA saying I was being charged.
And you got,
And you were convicted of it.
They read in whatever they read in. I don't know. It was a long time ago. So they read in 1 charge or 2 charge, and I ended up with the disorderly conduct. Yes, because unfortunately the law works. It's not who gets attacked; it's who gets injured, and he got injured.
It's conviction for resisting in DC. 2
okay,
convictions.
that's what it says, so. Okay, you got, on the address, 1025. This is that, I think it's 1022. It's on the east side of the street, isn't it? The bar?
Yeah, no, it's on east side.
It's on the east side.
Yes.
The old-
'Cause that's-
TNM.
so that's 1020.
Yes, the old docks.
The old Dops.
Yeah, it's 1022 then,
Yeah.
okay. 'Cause I'm looking at the address thinking, what the heck is on?
There's another bar in your neighborhood. Who knows?
Somebody open up the sign in front of somebody's house or something? But, okay, do I have a motion on this?
Mr. Chair,
Oh.
yeah, I'm gonna echo what Alderman Chaplewski said. The biggest concern is that you have a disorderly conduct, and part of the disorderly conduct is resisting and obstructing an officer. We need to know that you're going to be working with the police as a bartender in West Dallas, and
Absolutely.
that this isn't going to happen again. I'm confident. I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate what you're saying, that you won't be doing that again. And it was a long time ago, 15 to 16 years ago. So, yeah, I'll vote in favor, but that's our big concern.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Now, you heard that, gotta go in front of the council and everything.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're gonna go back to number 2, the ordinance, the uses of electronic smoking devices. Now, okay, that's number 2 and 3. Sally, you have someone here to say a few things.
Yes, I have, Sue Martin is
Presentation.
here to do a presentation.
A short presentation, I was
Very
told.
short.
Oh,
Oh, I
okay.
didn't talk so fast. Just a little bit of background on the e-cigarettes, and then she also brought what some of the products
samples.
look like for people that are not familiar with them. So if you just want to look at those. Sue is the coordinator with the Milwaukee and Ozaki County Tobacco-Free Coalition. And works closely with us. She came and did a presentation at the Board of Health. And Alderperson Reinke thought it would be helpful if she also came and did the presentation here.
And I will say, if you touch any of the juices and stuff, be sure and wash your hands afterwards, because it is highly toxic, and it's pretty stinky,
Well, it's good to
which
know.
I think you already know, but yeah, if you get any juice on your fingers, you wanna wash.
down there?
wash it.
Nah, we're good.
Cool.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Martin, I work with the Wisconsin Tobacco Prevention and Control Program, and I'm just gonna go real quickly through my slides. Is this, where are we going here? Right there, okay, cool. Just real quickly, I'm gonna talk a little bit what e-cigarettes are, what the landscape is locally and at the state level, some of the regulations in our local work. Oops, wrong one. There we go. This is what they look like. Those are all the different types. If you look on the left, it looks like a traditional tobacco piece. Away to the right, that's an e-hookah. All those things are being sold in West Dallas right now. They don't need to be behind the counter. They have candy flavorings. They have nicotine. Some of them don't have nicotine, they're labeled as not having nicotine, but we've done testing and found trace elements of nicotine in it. In Wisconsin, you do have to be over the age of 18 to purchase any product with nicotine, but if you're in a head shop or a vape shop and it says non-nicotine, anyone of any age can purchase them, and they do. So those are the different products that are out there.
Are these regulated and tested by?
No, they are
anyone?
not.
By
Great
So
question.
no one knows what's in any of these
No,
liquids. that
Wild
people-
West of products there. FDA, there's no FDA regulation at this point. They are looking at it right now, but there's over 450 different brands that are in the US. The vast majority are from China, and what they consist of is anything from nicotine and aerosol, with aerosols that have flavorings in it. You may have seen that piece that was done in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. It was called Gasping for Action. It was done by the Marquette Chemistry Department, where they tested the juices and found that they had these flavorings that are very harmful to lungs. And so that stuff's in it, nicotine, formaldehyde. So there's all sorts of things. We know it's more than water vapor. So if you hear that this is, you know, harmless, don't worry about it. Children should have fun with these products. We know there are aerosols that are very, very concerning. They aren't regulated, as I said, and have not been proven safe. They aren't approved to help smokers quit. We know what works, cessation counseling and approved pharmaceutical medications help. And the appeal to youth. As you look, there's a lot of candy and that kind of flavoring, bright coloring. And again, because I think so many clerks are confused, I mean, you've heard about how hard it is to check for licensing. These products do not need to be put behind the counter, and in most Wisconsin stores, they're not. So clerks aren't sure what's in it and who can purchase it. So we have great concerns about that. Again, what are we up against? A lack of public understanding and knowledge. As you know, this stuff, unlike traditional tobacco, can be advertised anywhere and everywhere it is. All over television, all over the internet, on Facebook, billboards, radio. So it really is out there for young people, and it's kind of destroying that culture that we've built in the last 5 years about, you know, not encouraging using tobacco or smoking. A powerful and unregulated marketing, a lot of giveaways, a lot of couponing. One of these products I bought for under $4 at a local convenience store with a coupon, so pretty cheap. And a lot of times you hear these personal stories. People say, I was able to quit traditional tobacco with this. Well, there's a lot of things. Hypnosis helps people quit. We don't have a lot of good hard research evidence that this helps in any way. Again, I talk about the FDA regulations. They are looking at these products. They're very concerned. You've probably seen lately there's been some explosions. People have been maimed with these products. Poison centers have a 75% increase in calls with e-cigarettes, especially with young people. And right now in the state legislature in Wisconsin, we're looking at packaging. See that little juice, that gummy bear on the left? That's exactly how it's packaged. There's not even any plastic over it. So a little kid would see that and think, you know, gummy bear, yum, and it probably smells good to them too. A lot of poisoning. So we're looking at having in Wisconsin some kind of more child-proof packaging on that. E-cigarettes in Wisconsin are not covered under the statewide smoke-free air law, so they can be smoked anywhere, including schools, unless you have a school policy, and the vast majority of our schools do not have school policies. We're talking about indoor use. Minors can't purchase ones with nicotine, but they can purchase other ones if allowed. There's no license to sell these things, so you don't need even a tobacco license for this. And they are not subject to the same kind of tax that tobacco is, so they're super cheap. Most of the products are under $7. Multiple bills that were in the legislature that all kind of stalled. One of them was to protect all schools in Wisconsin. Again, you have to have an individual school policy. We don't have that in place yet. Protecting the smoke-free air law, we don't have that in place. And then preemption or stopping locals from protecting on that also was stalled. So kind of went nowhere at this point. Preemption, again, is the state coming in and telling locals that they can't do anything. We want to stay away from preemption with this product. We love the fact that local communities are looking at putting laws in place. Right now, I can tell you, in the state, we only have a handful of municipalities or communities that have laws. In our southeast region, we have a law in Wauwatosa, we have a law in Greenfield, we have a law in South Milwaukee, and Madison has a law, and there's about 15 other communities across the state. That is not quite accurate now. We've got a little bit more stars. And then we've got about 10 counties that have laws that restrict use in municipal buildings and vehicles. So we do have a hodgepodge of some good comprehensive laws and then some county laws that just protect workers and people coming to municipal buildings. So what's a good policy? A great policy that is consistent with our statewide smoke-free air in all workplaces. again, that's what we have in Greenfield and South Milwaukee and Madison right now. Passing in government buildings is good, but again, it sends the message out that only people that work in government buildings or come in government buildings should be protected. And of course, anything that would tie product placement is a real concern for us, because product placement and use is very different from exposure, and that is going to go down the road of preemption, which we're really concerned about. So really, we're talking more about public places and exposure in public places. And again, issues with youth access, again, we want to see all schools in Wisconsin have a policy, so parents can't vape at concerts or on football fields or in soccer matches or in classrooms if you're 18. That's really good, but in terms of youth access and where to put products, we're not there yet. We need to pass again, exposure laws first. We do have resources, and I've shared some with Sally, your health officer, about what model language and what other communities have used, and we have all that stuff if you would want those resources. And that's me and our local coalition. And any questions? I know I went really quickly.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel.
you mentioned winnable ordinances. Are you expecting some sort of challenge, court challenge from some group, or?
We will have a court challenge if you tie in youth access to this issue, because they're completely separate issues right now. The state of Wisconsin obviously recognizes that we want clean indoor air, right? We have that Smoke-Free Air Act that passed in 2009, and 87% of Wisconsin residents still love it, including our governor and the state legislature. If you tie in youth access, that's flavoring and putting products behind the counter with exposure, I think it's going to get challenged. I think it's going to become more of a regulatory about sales issue.
Okay.
So we're worried about that. And Greenfield did tie it in with theirs, and there haven't been any challenges yet, but you never know. You never know.
Okay, before we go any further, is Jim here? Jim, basically, he's in the business.
Yes, I
He's in the business.
Can I ask her a question before
Sure.
he talks? About 6-7 slides in, you said it went to the state, and everything just
didn't go
went up
anywhere.
in vapor.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere.
Why?
Why? There were two competing bills. One was to make it consistent with statewide smoke-free air, so all workplaces in Wisconsin, bars, restaurants, places where you get your car fixed, in here, would be protected like we are with tobacco, okay? That didn't get, it went through the Senate and didn't make it to the Assembly. It just didn't get to the other part.
Do you know why?
Why? This is what they'd like to do. They'd like to see local communities like West Dallas. They want to see community momentum. They want to see communities pass this policy before they go to a statewide thing. The governor said that he would support it, and we've got the support in the legislature. It just hasn't gone. The other competing bill actually was more of a preemption bill to say that you could not disallow e-cigarettes in bars and restaurants, and that went nowhere. He couldn't find any co-signers for it at all.
If I may interrupt you, I believe the first proposal you mentioned was proposed by the Democrats party, and I know things have a little more trouble getting passed with the Democrat proposals than with the legislature now.
Yeah.
You trying to say they play politics in Madison?
Not at all.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
You had on one of the slides that said, I thought I read it right, grass tops.
What we want to do is be educating people, there are policy makers, people that are superintendents of schools, so we should have our schools all covered. People, 18-year-old students should not be allowed to vape in class, and right now they are. So, grass tops.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, Jim, go ahead.
I just have a written statement I'd like to read to you. My name is Jim Cottrell. I'm the owner of Vape 108, located at 1475 South 108th Street in West Dallas. I requested the opportunity to speak to you here tonight, not to debate this proposal or this ordinance, but to speak in reference to a few points relating to it that you may not have considered. I believe that we can all agree that eliminating the use of cigarettes, burning, smoking tobacco is a worthwhile goal. One of the ways over the past several years to do that is to give people an alternative method to help them quit smoking. I know it's not proven in any research lab, but I can tell you today that it works. For the just the ease of clarification tonight, I'm going to refer to the use of electronic cigarettes as vaping. I can assure you from my personal experience, vaping works, because if it weren't for e-cigs, I would probably be dead today. I smoked cigarettes for 35 years. Throughout that time, I tried the patch, mints, gum, and even prescribed medications. None of that ever worked for me. On April 2nd, 2012, I was diagnosed with 99% blockage in my left anterior descending artery. It's commonly referred to as the widowmaker. After life-saving procedures, the medical staff told me that 98% of the people with this condition do not survive. I was lucky, but I needed to quit smoking that day. I was able to do so only with the help of e-cigarettes. Quitting smoking cigarettes has definitely improved my life, but I couldn't have done it by myself. What we do at Vape 108 is we educate the aspiring ex-smoker. We advise them to choose the correct device. And by the way, none of these on this table are the correct device. These are all dime store toys, okay? Just to put that out there. Only when they have the right tools and the right training can they accomplish their goal to quit smoking. We provide free classes to help them utilize the many variations of devices available today. We provide a welcoming and homey environment where they can interact with other vapors and to share each other's knowledge and experiences, all part of this community building we do at my store. And by the way, none of my stuff and most of the other stores that I know in West Dallas that are vape shops have this stuff out on the counter where people can just grab it willy-nilly. It doesn't work that way. I don't know where she found this stuff, but I can tell you it doesn't. To perform this process correctly, we need to match the nicotine level of the current smoker based on their current tobacco use, and find them a flavor that they can live with and use on a daily basis to put down cigarettes forever. That was the goal I set when I opened my shop almost 2 years ago. If this is done correctly, if this is not done correctly, most people go back to their old habits. This isn't the greater goal here to help people quit smoking for the health and well-being of us all. Sampling the e-juice flavors is the key to getting this accomplished. Sometimes it takes us quite some time to find the correct flavor to satisfy this person's flavor profile. We need to provide an enjoyable alternative to tobacco. If the proper use of this equipment is not thoroughly demonstrated and explained, and the flavor is not exactly what they can accept to use on a daily basis, they will discard this device and go back to smoking cigarettes. I've seen this several instances where this has happened, but a great percentage of my customers are able to quit smoking altogether by the use of vaping as an alternative. I would like to specifically address subsection 3C in 0002, where smoking and vaping are being put together as the same thing. Although I strongly disagree these two functions should be combined into a single item under the law, I'm not here to debate that, and I completely realize that this will not change until there is enough credible data to show the differences between the two. I have only one request for this committee today. I submit that you please consider an exemption for retail stores where vaping devices and the many related products are their primary source of revenue. Banning vaping in a vape shop will seriously hinder our ability to offer this alternative to smoking to hundreds and hundreds of people desperate to quit. As I did my months of research on where to open my business 2 years ago, I picked West Dallas based on several items: the rich history of West Dallas, the diverse business atmosphere, and the long history of economic progress. I took these things as an invitation to small business owners to come to West Dallas, to flourish, and to add growth to the health of the economy here. Approving this ban will in effect force many of us to abandon West Dallas and find other ways to support our families. I do expect this ordinance will end up before the Common Council in the near future, and I would also expect there will be many ex-smokers that will want to have a voice in this issue. I'm available for questions at any time, and thank you for allowing me to speak to this committee tonight.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Jim?
Mr. Chair?
Oh,
So if I came in there, you wouldn't sell me anything?
I don't understand.
I'm not a smoker.
If you walked in there, I wouldn't assume you'd walk in there unless you at least wanted to ask some questions.
Well, your customers are only smokers trying to quit?
No, there's
Okay.
vapors, other vapors.
Kind of how you set this up.
No, I'm saying if a person comes in and wants to quit, I can offer them a viable alternative to smoking cigarettes.
So you sell to anybody over
18.
Over 18,
of course.
But because
there's no
your written things, it made it sound like your primary purpose is helping people get off.
It is. It absolutely is. If you didn't vape and didn't smoke and you wanted to start, come on in. I'll be glad to help you as well.
Start vaping.
If that's what you desire, yeah.
Okay, so we have two ordinances in front of us. Let's see, 2 and 3.
Mr. Chair, can I speak?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I think
Have a seat. Didn't see you back there.
And your name for the record, please, ma'am.
Alderman Rosalie Reinke. Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank
So
the
it's Alderman
committee for
person.
to allow us to present the facts of the e-cigarettes, and I thank Mr. Cottrell as well to give his viewpoint, even though I don't always agree with some of the points that he's made. Basically, the goal of the health department is to protect our public health, and that's what I'm trying to do in this ordinance. My concern is generally and mostly for the young people. These are the people that are the most vulnerable, and it's found that their use has been doubled as far as the stats are concerned, and mostly because the devices are unregulated, as Sue has alluded to. We have to do something. There's other communities, Greenfield, South Milwaukee, Wauwatosa, is the information you have been given has also been told to you, and also 11 counties have proposed ordinances to this effect. We are trying to do something in our state, even though the state has refused to act on this, and the federal government also has refused to act on this. There are chemicals that are involved in these devices, harmful chemicals to the body. The lungs are affected, the breathing is affected. Asthma is very, very a vibrant force because of these vapes. It's time for us to act in West Dallas. The bronchial tubes are affected. The body itself is affected with all the chemicals, even relating to heart attacks. So because the chemicals that are in these products are flavored, it's attracting the young people in our community. I became aware of this basically when I saw a vape shop just steps away from our high school. This is concerning. And then after that, I've noticed that the vape shops are occurring. They're popping up in all the small malls along Highway 100. This is concerning to me. We have to act on this to prevent, to help our youth realize that this is not good. This is not healthy. As far as helping with assisting, you might say, people to quit smoking, it hasn't been proven, according to the stats, that this is so. So basically, I think, and I call on you as council members to help me license at least this product in our community. We have to do something to stem, to, you might say, to stop this proliferation of shops coming into our community. And there will be more shops coming into our community. There are no regulations, and that to me is very concerning, very, very concerning. Anything goes, and anyone can buy these products. So I just wanted to make you aware of this. Okay. Advertising is rampant, as was explained by Sue. It's on television. They advertise in magazines and papers. I've seen. I got proof. I mean, I cut out all these articles, and the articles state it's not a product that should be utilized, especially by our young people.
How long do you think this product's been out?
Probably in Wisconsin, it's been like the last 5, 6 years.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah, ever since we're
It's
finding
been-
any state that passes a statewide smoke-free air law, because a lot of the manufacturers are the major tobacco companies. Altria's came in and
one of the oldest shops in the Milwaukee area is in Menominee Falls. It's about 4.5 years old. The juice that I sell, the bottles of juice that I sell in my store are all manufactured in the U.S. in ISO 9000 clean room labs. They're all made with child-proof containers. They're all specifically marked with the amount of nicotine in them. They're all diacetyl-free juices. I don't buy anything with any of the harmful, the diacetyl, which I may not be pronouncing that correct, which is one of the biggest issues in the flavorings today.
Okay. Sally, did you have anything? Do you have people come in, walking into your health department?
We currently don't have any of our clients coming in and vaping, but they do talk about products, and we've seen them in restaurants, we've seen them on the bus, we've seen them all over the place, so.
Okay.
And there is concern, I think, Jenna provided you with a lot of resources that the youth access and the youth using and coming hooked on nicotine products is alarming, the data.
Mr. Chairman?
All in a row, Tina. Didn't you have?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you understood.
Just one quick statement. I know most of the owners of the shops in West Dallas. I can tell you without a doubt that none of them sell to minors, nor will they.
Every bar says that too.
Well, okay, but you got to understand that this stuff is not just available in vape shops. It's available at every gas station, at every Speedway, at every Walgreens and Walmart. I can't account to what they do there. And just for the record, I have absolutely no problem with either 002 or 011 as it's written, with the exception of bulking us into the state smoking ban, which makes my shop not be able to operate like it should, because now I can no longer vape in my store. That subsection 3C says vaping is smoking, for lack of the proper terminology. Now it falls into the statewide smoking ban in any retail shop.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to draw on the cigarette analogy for a couple things. Okay, there's still, I don't know, hundreds of places in West Dallas you can buy cigarettes.
Right.
You can't smoke most places in public. Right. There were some bars that were. We have one that was a cigar bar that was grandfathered, so that when the smoking ban, so we have one licensed establishment in the city of West Dallas where people can still go smoke. I believe they can only smoke cigars though, can't even, not even cigarettes, if I understand correctly. So, and I'm a business owner, and I'm gonna go have a sign made up tomorrow that says, no vaping please, in my establishment.
I'm good with that.
And I'm just wondering if we do the same thing, if you're really providing a service and you're helping people get past a certain point in their life, if we could do essentially a clean air ban, but grandfather existing locations. I guess I don't know if that, just like we did with the cigar bar. You can't open a cigar bar in West Dallas today.
Appreciative of that.
You know, I'm not doing it for you
I know.
necessarily. I'm just trying to say that, you know, I think it's dangerous. We don't know what's in any of this stuff.
The issue is I have to show, and this is a bad illustration, this is a better one. I have to show a person how to fill this tank properly, how to prime it so they don't burn it, how to adjust
in your business,
it, and how to use it.
You don't sell any of this cheap
Right.
stuff.
So if I can't do that, I'm really not helping anyone at all. That's just
without moving to a different city.
Correct.
Okay.
And you're a tenant, you're not an owner there.
I'm a tenant, correct.
Sorry.
Before you forget again, Alderman Rowe.
My reading, I guess Sally or anybody, is the FDA hasn't really rendered an opinion on this, correct?
Right.
they've come forth with a few studies since 2014 that again is more and more damning. I'm being honest with you, that the studies are showing that there is secondhand aerosol exposure to other people, but they have not rendered an opinion yet about the 3 things that they wanted to render opinion on.
Okay, my problem with all this stuff is that it says existing studies. I have very little faith in studies, because you have a study, well, this one this morning,
go with your
the
gut.
chocolate is good for you. Next month we have a study saying how horrible chocolate is. Drinking so much wine is good for you, and everything. Study is only as good as the person is doing the study. I always think when I hear a study, I want to know who paid for it and who did the study. You know, and there's a lot of those in there. And one other thing in the number 2 in the ordinance, which it says no person shall use an electronic smoking device on school grounds. To me, that's up to the school board. I don't think we should be passing ordinances that have to do with the school property. You know, that should be taken up by them. And because this has not, there's no, there's no guidance coming from the state. There's no guidance coming from the country. I mean, it just, I hate banning something.
We're not banning it. We're not banning
It's
it.
not about individual use, it's about exposure in public places.
Mr. Chair, if I could. My concern is, you might know what's in the stuff that you sell, but apparently there's a whole lot of products in the street there that people are buying and using right now.
There's a lot of junk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll agree. There's a lot of junk.
And if secondhand cigarette smoke is bad, I assume there's a bunch of the same kind of stuff. We don't.
You're
know.
assuming
There's
it.
nothing.
You're assuming.
There's nothing.
Well, they found formaldehyde, they
There's-
found nicotine,
There's
they
no
found
final
those flavorings
report,
in
no
it.
final
It's just-
standing.
So I'm just
It's
going to go
all
with my gut.
under.
And I'm not a big government guy. I'm not. I'd rather have fewer laws than more laws. But
I think something like this should be coming from the state, not from the
it
city.
should be.
Honestly, the state should be coming
I'm
up,
going to go through the
up with
because
it.
because
And
if you go from community to community, we're putting. I'm going to go. If we force a small business in West Dallas to close through our actions, and he can move to Brookfield, then we're doing a disservice. Okay, so it should be not even countywide; it should be statewide. I'll agree with you on that. You know.
What about the disservice
Alderman
you are to
Barzak.
the community people, the people that live in the community?
Oh yeah, I'm in
That's a
favor of.
disservice.
I'm in favor of a ban, or of a no public use policy.
Alderman Barzak.
And you have the right to put that
Hey,
on your business.
excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Alderman Barzak.
What I find hard to believe is, all the toxins that are in here, yet you go to a school and they can't have white bread. They gotta have grain bread. That is, that they have come down and said that white bread's not good for you. You must have a whole grain bread, and it must meet 2 grains at a serving, etc. And yet nobody can get a consensus that this stuff's bad for you, which is, why is that? Why?
Can I respond to the school issue, just that
Sure.
issue real quick? Part of it is I think most schools assume that it's covered in the statewide smoke-free air law, and it only becomes like a big deal is when it's confiscated, and then law enforcement says, because the kid says there isn't nicotine in this, I'm just vaping on this. We don't know what's in there. It could be heroin, it could be
nobody knows this.
marijuana, it could be, and that's one of the problems with youth use at all, or having parents use them at a school facility.
First of all, no police officer, or anybody that's coming there is going to know what's in it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the city body making rules and regulations over the school board. The school board is the one that should be banning it, not us.
Yeah, but if we go with like a clean air ban, and it's essentially in every workplace, well,
It covers
school
schools.
buildings are workplace too.
Yeah.
Right? Teachers aren't there for free.
They're not. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Alderman Barzak, you can finish.
Yeah. So, get into the question of what we have in front of us, because it's extremely confusing. It's reading through it. We're trying to ban public buildings, and work areas. So we're strictly talking public buildings like city hall, fire departments, etc., and schools. That's it. It's not banned anywhere else. It's not banned in bars. It's not banned in bowling alleys.
No.
It's not banned
It's basically copies wherever you can't smoke cigarettes, you wouldn't be able to
It
smoke
is banned in
cigarettes.
bars then. It is banned in. You know, I'd like to, just as there was an exemption for existing tobacco bars or cigar bars, you know, I mean, do we know how many, I mean, I guess the question is, because the vape lounges aren't licensed, right? How many vape, I mean, you're a vape lounge.
I'm a vape shop with
Vape
a
shop
lounge,
and people
right.
vape.
I have a lounge.
There's one over here on Greenfield Avenue.
There's about 5, I think, in West Dallas.
But they have no special license from the city or anything like that.
No, and again, like I said, 11 talks about the license, and I have absolutely no problem with being licensed. No problem.
And what about face-to-face sales versus off the shelf? Because when they get expensive, kids will just shoplift them too.
Yeah.
Mine are all under counters and behind counters.
Yeah, so they're all face-to-face
That's how most
sales.
of them are.
They're all
Right,
face-to-face.
let's get back into the nuts and bolts. So all these products are going to be regulated. Not to be able to contain certain things, but they can contain certain things. Is that the way I'm hearing
Who's
this?
going to do that?
No,
we
we
can't
can't
regulate.
regulation with
So
the
there's no
product
regulation. So the
herself.
kids
We're-
can still go get it and buy it from Walgreens.
No,
or,
they can't buy them. You got to be 18 to buy them.
It doesn't deal with youth access. Your question is great. It does not
Okay.
deal with youth access.
So what are we doing? Are we
Well,
saying is it okay?
We're
The law
talking-
right now, 18 can buy them. Under 18.
Under 18 can't buy anything with nicotine in them.
Yeah.
Right.
The ordinance does in the licensing one. It does prohibit anyone from buying under 18 any products.
Any product,
cigarettes.
period.
Correct. Just to them. Any adult could buy them if they're.
Right. So you can go into a Walgreens,
Mhm.
and if I'm 19, I still can buy any of this stuff.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And could he give it to a 17-year-old? Is possession by a 17-year-old okay?
No.
So the parent, like a beer, they can hand them a beer if they're under 18. If you're with your
No,
parent.
it's illegal. I know it's illegal to be in possession of nicotine under the age of 18.
Under age of 18. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about alcohol.
If
But
you're talking about a beer, yes.
So
if
we're
you
gonna
live with your
have
parents,
we're gonna
it's
have
state
police
law.
officers now doing compliance checks and sending a 17-year-old trying to buy a vape cigarette. Is that what we're gonna do?
we already do that. The state already does that.
But
It's
you
a
said-
federal
you
law.
said
We
anybody can
already
buy
do
it.
compliance checks with nicotine. We have gone in and we have in
Hang on,
West
hang
Dallas,
on.
West Dallas bought e-cigarettes.
Okay,
and-
I'm very confused here, extremely confused.
Okay.
So you have to be 18 to buy any of this stuff right now.
If it contains nicotine.
If it
But a lot of them don't
Okay, well,
contain it.
this is where, because she just said, no, you got, it's the same. All right, so anybody can buy this right now. Anybody can buy this right now.
If it doesn't contain
If it doesn't
nicotine,
contain
correct.
nicotine. We're gonna try to say you have to be 18 or older to buy this.
No.
We're not trying to say that?
Yeah, yes, in the license. Yes.
We are
the
trying to say
licensing
that.
one, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So, okay.
And you have to have a license to sell it.
a license.
License to sell, yes.
So you're gonna have to come and get a license, and then we're gonna send 17-year-olds in to do compliance checks to see, make sure
Only if we
that
get a
you're not
grant from the
17.
state.
That's part of the order.
But
We may.
you can't buy it if you're under 18, but your parent could and hand it to you, and you could smoke it all you want.
Well, I don't know
Not if
which
there's
parents
nicotine.
would do that. I mean, I guess you could buy anything.
Oh,
that's-
tons,
No.
tons. So the you know, reality check. So all right. So I'm just asking if a parent buys it or the brother buys it, who's 18, 19, and hands it to the 16-year-old, they're still legal to smoke this.
No, it says no person shall sell, give, furnish, or cause to be sold, given, or furnish an electronic smoking device or electronic smoking device paraphernalia to a person less than 18 years of age. So parents would
Give.
not be able to give it to their child.
Okay, or an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old won't be
No,
able to
if you're
give it to
18
them. Just like alcohol. You
Correct.
can't give it to them. They do, but you can't. You're
Right.
not supposed to.
Right.
Not
just like,
supposed
Just like you have a cigarette where you wouldn't be able to give it to your child. You can't say
to. And that's going to be regulated how?
by the police department.
The police department's going to regulate this.
Well, if they had a complaint, it's just like
Yeah,
any other
just-
cigarette
Okay.
violation.
We do compliance checks already with your West Dallas police and do buy these things. And we were able to buy them with
I
underage
have
kids.
all kinds of problems with this.
It's less about individual use, it's about exposure.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Haas.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor. In contrast to Alderman Barzak, I'm in favor of
I didn't
this
say I'm not
proposed.
opposed.
Okay.
I said I have issues.
Okay. And I shouldn't have.
Difference.
I'm sorry, Alderman Barzak.
Yep,
I
I
shouldn't have
have issues.
referenced you directly. I apologize
Yep.
for that. But I'm in favor of this proposed ordinance. I'm the father of 9-year-old twins. It bothers me immensely when we're in a public place and there's some guy, it's usually a guy, vaping in a public place, and I give him the stink eye, and that's all that I can do. I don't want my kids exposed to someone having the discourtesy of exposing my kids to whatever chemicals are in the vapes. You watch someone vaping, it's like there's even more smoke than comes out from a cigarette. It's like the individual's a steam engine putting out a huge cloud of smoke. I'm in favor of this. This is the right thing for our city to do. That's why we have a health department, to bring issues like this to us and to do the right thing for the public health of our community. And I'd also, on the other part too, I would support a proposal to allow vape shops that currently exist, to allow vaping inside the vape shops.
Okay, I think your problem is with the ordinance rather than an enforcement of the ordinance rather than
here's
opposition to the
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I'd have to think about it a little longer and to say, I'm going to make my mind up right now. Not going to happen. I would vote no. I would vote against it right now if I had to make my mind up. I don't believe I would be against licensing and having the sales to anybody under the age of 18. So I think I'd be in favor of that. I'd be in favor of public buildings and schools. I would be in favor of that. I would not be in favor of bars, bowling alleys, restaurants, etc. I believe that should be up to them to regulate that. If they don't want vaping in their establishment, that should be up to them, just like Marty is going to do tomorrow. That's up to them. I don't believe we should regulate that at this time. Now, if the state comes back with a state ban that puts everybody on an even playing field, that we don't have businesses that are at a disadvantage and not be able to compete for equal dollars, because I can go over to New Berlin and I can go to that bowling alley and I can vape in that one, so I'm joining that league and I'm leaving all of West Dallas leagues because you can't vape in there. I don't think we should regulate that part of it. Not until the state comes in, just like the smoking ban, and says something. Public building, I'd agree. Schools, I'd agree. I'd agree with the license, but taking it to that next level in all public places, I could not support that personally.
See, and I got, just going through here, it's, in here it says, research indicates electronic smoking devices may lead youth to try other tobacco products. First of all, it says may, it's vague, and how do I know that that's true? Well, by voting in favor of this, I'm saying that that's a true statement. And it just, not necessarily is true, and that's the problem.
Take it out, strike it.
So
move to amend the resolution to delete that statement.
There's more than one in here.
The studies are attached, though, that do demonstrate that. I don't know if you trust the studies, but I'm just saying they're attached. It's not something I just put in there for, the heck of it.
Mr. Chair? I think we're going to have a problem on defining what a vape lounge is. If we're going to, I'm in favor of the grandfathering also, but I think we're going to have a hard time defining who is a vape lounge right now, because Walgreens could say, because Walgreens sells vape stuff, right? And can you vape in Walgreens?
No.
They have a policy. Okay. What about the CVS, the Sam's Club?
CVS doesn't sell any tobacco or e-cigarette products nationally.
Oh, that's okay. What about other? Are there any? How many places that sell these? Can I vape at the gas station on the corner where they sell them?
Sure.
So is he? So when we talk about grandfathering, is he gonna say, well, we're a gas station / vape lounge?
Or perhaps you could require in the ordinance that they have 50% or more of their sales have to be.
Oh,
Yes.
there we go.
Electronic
Okay,
cigarettes.
predominantly in the vape
verbiage
business.
just like that.
And we'll require a license, so only licensed.
There's tobacco.
So now we get a license for the
establishment.
establishment.
75% of your net income is based on the sale of these products.
So we get a license for the establishment, and then the clerks have to be licensed separately also, just like we do for adult entertainment and
No.
beverage service.
Just the owner.
That wasn't part of the ordinance, but I mean, it could be,
It could be.
if you wanted to, but.
What was the percent, what was the percent of sales you said for the?
Like, I just suggested
Oh, you're
50%
supposed to-
or more,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Do vape stores, vape lounges typically sell tobacco products also?
Some do, mine doesn't. I am only a vape shop. So that's 100% of my revenue is from vaping equipment.
Are you familiar with any of the stores in Greenfield?
Yes,
Have they any closed shops since they passed the ordinance?
yes. 2 shops have closed down. Vape Haven and Vapalicious have both left Greenfield.
Did they move to another location?
Vapalicious did. Vape Haven went out of business.
So what you said tonight you'd have to vote against?
I do, as it is right now, I could not vote
So-
for this, no, I could not support it. I could support against something in public buildings, I could support, the licensing part, but, not when it comes to all public areas, no. Nope, bars, restaurants, bowling alleys, etc. I could not support that.
And I also, I know we're not voting, but I'm with Alderman Barnes, except I think the school district should do their own heavy lift.
I personally think they should too, but I wouldn't vote for it for schools.
So, I think we're gonna hold these two until we get some get some changes,
Is there a different form of this going to safety and development or anything, or is this? I'm just
Um,
wondering, do you get the rest of the council to weigh in on it without having a committee?
No, these are all together for these, unlike mobile homes, these are all together.
Did they get copies of this? The other committees get copies? The
They
rest of the
should
council?
have because, well, I believe it was on the council agenda for the February 1st, 2nd meeting.
So all it is just says the
But we
ordinance.
can
is on
send,
there.
I mean, we can send everything again to make
No,
sure.
we're not, the council agenda hasn't been made yet.
And I would also, in regards to the school thing, if the school does pass a policy, that's not something our police could ticket at that point, it would just be a school policy. So there isn't any, anything that can come out of it.
They can't ban anything on their playground.
They can ban it, but there wouldn't, I mean, there's no, I guess,
You need a
enforcement.
city ordinance to have our police do it, like with the tobacco ban, we had to pass an ordinance, otherwise there would have to be the state to go in and. give it
Correct,
to
just
them.
like the unauthorized
Okay.
school presence, which we passed for the schools, where we can't, people have trespassing, but we passed that ordinance to help, basically the police could go in and enforce their school.
Okay, I see, so
rules.
that's okay.
Mr. Chairman,
That's different. All in
the other suggestion might be to introduce copy 3, a watered down version like I'm suggesting, and see if that gets support, at least something is through, and can always be amended and stuff can be added on. But at least that there's a start. It's just a suggestion that could be done also.
Certainly, I mean, I guess if I don't know what everyone's agreeing
Right.
on yet,
Correct.
so that's kind of the problem
That's gonna
as
be
well.
a huge problem, because we
Right.
got 5 other alder persons.
Correct.
That have
Okay.
not viewed in on this, so.
Okay, so
4 other, because Rosalie's here.
I think we know where Rose.
Yeah, I think we know where she's at.
So we're just gonna hold this tonight. I'd like the other people to get it, read it, look at what exceptions they would have to it, or if they're all in favor of it. Meanwhile, if you can go through and find the things you don't like about it and relate it to.
Yeah, or vice
Kinda.
versa.
Yeah.
The parts that I would support.
Right.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, is it possible we have a committee of the whole meeting, an issue that the committee of the whole might want to discuss already anyways? Do you know anything coming in the near future? I don't know.
Geez, ain't crazy.
Anyone else?
No. Well, that's up to the council president to do that, so you'd have to talk to the council president on this, but it's, I don't think it's as easy an issue as a lot of people think. I think it's a more complicated issue, so that's why I think we need to discuss with the other old people. You agree with this wholeheartedly the way it sits right now?
Well, I have my small government hat on most of the time. I would rather see the state come
Right.
and be
Me too.
even across the state. So there's no, I don't want to put us at an economic disadvantage to our neighboring communities.
Correct.
Force a business owner here who's operating a legitimate business to move up and move to, well, New Berlin or where Brookfield or wherever, but,
Okay.
I know in
Mr.
my
Chair,
business it's gonna be.
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chair? Just,
Right, Sally.
we have been waiting for the FDA and the state to do something for many years. And we're still waiting. And we need to move forward because we need to do stuff to protect the health of our residents. You mentioned not doing it in bars and restaurants, so how are we protecting the health of the workers or other people coming? Are people going to then say, I am going to go to another community to go to the bar or restaurant because they don't allow vaping there?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we can go back to the tobacco, because, by the way, I voted against our ordinance simply because my feeling always with the tobacco ban is if they allow smoking in that place and I don't like it, I don't have to go there. No one says you have to go into that restaurant, and it's kind of the same way with something like this. You're taking away freedoms away from people, so.
Again, it's
That's
that's where the
But-
council needs to make a balance. What's the individual right versus the community right?
And if you're exercising your freedom, I'm gonna give you the stink eye.
We have an ordinance against stink eye.
Would you like to introduce
Right up an
one?
ordinance against stink eye because
Yeah,
I think that, to me, that sounds worse than vaping. Let's just hold this. I would ask you, everybody speak to their counterpart, the other aldermen in their district and kind of
Or if there's
go over things and so.
something I can research, I would be happy to take that on. Just let me know what information you need.
Has anybody else grandfathered existing locations when they instituted a ban?
I don't think so in the southeast region that I know of, no. This
Madison
is the
does.
first time that was suggested.
Madison
But
does.
look,
Madison
the
does.
statewide
They
law
have an
did, I
exception.
mean, they did for hookah bars, they did for those cigar bars.
Hookah bars, I think. Yes, makes sense. You know they existed until before. So.
Yeah,
But-
I gave an example of the grandfather.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I
so-
would also suggest if anyone have any suggestions, please see Jenna.
Right, I should, I just, I think it's a more important issue than this, and I think, but according to what Sally said, though, and I agree, we have to keep this moving. We don't just put it down and forget about it. Everybody
hope
needs
you
to
would
get
not
going.
do
So
that, because
I figured
as I
you will make sure we
indicated-
don't forget about it. So, and so, okay.
Thanks again for the
Yeah,
opportunity.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you
And
for
thank you,
your input. Do you want to take these things?
Oh,
Yeah. They stink.
they do stink, don't they?
Careful, wash your hands. You may want to use them for another presentation, so.
Okay, we're gonna go to item 4. This is, let's see, I think it's just 4. Yeah. The revised, ordinance for the manufacturer mobile home community license.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Yeah.
Okay.
Jenna, can you tell us what this is about?
Sure.
Thank you.
This is basically an update to our mobile home licenses. We've previously had updated the ordinance, like, I think it was 1974, 1972. We were recently contacted by the state, I believe it was last year, where previously the state was supposed to be doing the licensing of the mobile home parks, but they haven't been doing that. They haven't been doing inspections, they haven't been following through. And they contacted us to do the agent status, which is like we do for food permits and for other alcohol things, where we can investigate and basically do inspections. It also updates the ordinance in regards to makes it similar to like the alcohol licenses and the other licenses, just where make sure that everyone gives you truthful statements like they should, shows up to meetings like they should in the other for the other licenses, and that we have the correct information for everything that's going on in the park.
Yeah, I remember in going over everything, there's a lot of things that, it's a state law, but we don't have it. We do this with a number of things when the state changes the laws and everything. Who are you people?
I'm Catherine Stiza, and I'm partial owner of Mayfair Village Mobile Home Court on 1000 South 108th with my brother and sister. I'm also co-owner of Greenfield Terrace at 10525 West Greenfield Avenue in West Dallas. They're about a half mile apart.
Okay. Just for future reference, right, if you're gonna wanna come speak in front of a committee, you should ask the chairman if it's okay. Because this is just on the agenda for discussion and voting. If anybody wants to speak on this, isn't a public hearing. Just give me a call and.
I
but,
apologize, sir.
Yeah, so, but,
Okay.
just so you know, but
Okay, I
I'm gonna
wasn't
allow,
aware. Okay.
allow you to speak, you're not gonna
Thank
sit
you.
here this whole time.
Thank
And
you.
so, but, okay.
And who are you?
I'm attorney Mark Hazelbaker. I'm from Madison. I do a lot of work with manufactured home communities. I also represent Mike Now, who owns another manufactured home community in West Dallas.
Okay. And same thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, I apologize. Your customs are not on your website.
That you have to speak to that? I suppose it's not. But, okay. But no, never mind. We won't get into that. Okay, is there anything in here that's different than what state requires? I mean, there is some dates that were different, there was some fees that were different, but, you know, besides that.
I'm looking through it here, I can go one by one here. Well, the state doesn't really say what the application, what should be listed on the application. We obviously do for clarity from the clerk's purpose, like the name, street address, phone number, date of birth, that kind of thing. The scale drawing, I don't believe that's required by the state statutes. That's just something we've always had in our ordinance, so we can tell where everything is in the community. That's been standard for, I think, since the 50s.
By scale drawing, you mean where all the homes are and?
Right, like where the sanitary facilities are, the bathrooms, just like sewers, where the people can park, just basically like a map of the location. A new one is the affidavit states the applicant is the owner and that there's basically like a registered person to contact if there's any issues there. That's a new one. Truth of statements, that's for the city. That's also new, but that's similar to what our other licenses have where you have to be truthful in your application. Investigation, that's a little bit new. This adds more details. Previously, everyone had to be inspected by building inspection and the fire department. Now the health department is added on because the health department will be the agent for the state. And then just the information regarding what they found has to be sent to you to make sure that we can pass the license and there's no problems. For the granting of the license, the equipment, roads, sanitary facilities, that's all in our current ordinance. Occupancy permits are new, but basically just says that everybody has to have their proper occupancy permits from building inspections, just like they would for like a building permit. Sanitary facilities is the same. Background check and pay the required record check fee, that is new, but that's again just like alcohol ordinances or alcohol licenses or other licenses that we have. It's a requirement that they comply with all applicable ordinances of the city and state statutes and pay all outstanding obligations, which means their personal property taxes, if any, just like we do for the other licenses. And then compliance with all health department regulations and inspections, that's new, but that's because the health department's taking on the agent status. Transfer of license is current in the same ordinance. That's also covered by state statute. It says we can charge a fee. It is allowed to do a transfer of a license. License period is the same, except we are changing it from July 1st to June 30th. Right now it's an April date, right? April 1st to March 30th. So that's just, and the ones currently granted will be extended until July 1st. The license fee is actually a little bit less. It goes to $2 per space. The permit fee is new, but that's required by the state. That is in state law, and because we're becoming the agent status for the state, that's something we're required to collect. The permit fee is in our current ordinance, and that is also in the state statutes that we can collect.
A monthly permit fee?
Yes, it's the monthly parking permit fee. The assessor actually determines how much that is based on the assessment value of the property. Responsibilities of licensee, that is new. Again, that's kind of similar to the other, like the food permits and the other health licenses, that just basically requiring people keep their records, make sure that the streets are clean and orderly in there, that all the units are numbered, that the street lights or the lights or the streets are properly illuminated. Any violation of ordinance just needs to be reported to the police, just like a bar or a food permit. Observation of fire preventions, making sure everything's basically in good condition, just similar as like any residential property. And the maintenance of a register of all owners and occupants of the community, just so we know who the occupants are in each home in case we need to contact them. The licensee's registered contact person has to be available. That's new. It's not in state law, just our ordinance. Just basically by telephone, electronic means, just we have some way to communicate with the person if there's a problem at the premises. Inspections and records, that's in our current ordinance, that they allow the building inspection, the police department, health department, and fire department for inspection and search in case there's any violations. And the new part is that they can copy any records necessary for their investigation. We do have the revocation of the license. It is in our current ordinance, but we just expanded to go through the procedure, just like we did with the food permits and the alcohol licenses. I think that pretty much covers everything. The penalty is a little bit higher, but those, I guess it was, I don't think they had a minimum offense down prior to that. So that's basically the changes in the licensing.
Okay. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah. Oh, not objective, no. I'm just curious, and what's the objection?
I have some questions.
Okay, you go first.
You go first.
Pass a background check?
Yes.
But where we, it's up to us where we draw the line? Like what kind of things in a person's background could we use to deny someone the license?
It would have to be substantially related to
the business.
So if they have prior things, violations of 9.21, or like if you remember the.
Wait, what's 9.21?
What's 9.21?
Sorry, that's the ordinance we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Mobile home ordinance. Sorry.
But we've had problems where people have been dragged out electrical issues or plumbing issues. Would that be considered failing the background check?
It could be if they're convicted of it. If they're like a building code violation,
Okay.
like we had with Mr. Dorinda, Mr. Gallus, when they were dragging that out. If they were convicted in municipal court, that would be something you could use possibly against them in deciding whether to revoke their license or deny them.
And what happens if we revoke a license?
Well, if we revoke a license,
everybody's got to move out.
Everyone has to move
It's
out.
happened in the city of Milwaukee, right?
But we may. It's probably not in the city's best interest to do so unless bad things happen. So we may have to assist with relocating the people who are living there.
Okay. So, then it comes up to you, obviously you object to something or you have some comments on it?
Well, predominantly, we have more concerns about the other part of this package, but I do have a few comments about the ordinance as proposed.
Okay, that would be the safety and development stuff?
The
Right,
mobile
is it-
manufactured home standards, section
Yeah.
13.36.
And I should add that under that one, you guys would all be grandfathered in. So the
Right,
new
well,
things
there's
wouldn't.
still, yeah, right, understood. I would make an observation first with respect to the proposal to create subsection 10E, prompt reporting to the police department of any violation of an ordinance, statute, or other law committed on the premises.
What number?
10E
Oh,
on
10E,
page.
okay.
I don't see anything in here that you're gonna require apartment owners to turn in all their tenants who violate city laws. It just seems odd that manufactured.
I like that idea though. That's next. Let's do this first.
Well, there's this thing called self-incrimination, which, at least as to violations by the manufactured home park, you can't require, I don't mean to be combative, but you can't require people to rat out themselves. More seriously, this provision that you have under subsection 12, certainly every good business keeps records, and that's not a problem. The requirement that we allow the police to come in and inspect and copy our records upon request is unconstitutional. And I know that it's
Keep it on an
unconstitutional.
iPhone.
Well, that's right, but the Supreme Court issued a case called City of Los Angeles versus Patel on June 22nd last year, in which a Los Angeles city ordinance requiring motel operators to keep a registry and make it available to the police for inspection was an unconstitutional violation of the Fourth Amendment. We're gonna cooperate most of the time, but to say that, let me ask you, if I say to you and any of your business is your business, you have to show your checkbook to the police upon demand, or you have to show your business records.
I guess
It's
you're
a
right. What
privacy.
kind of record would we be asking to see?
Right, and
It's a building health or safety code violation. So it's
and
not
those
something
are covered. The seminal case involving this, and I'll give you the citations. The seminal case was decided in 1978 involving OSHA inspections, Marshall versus Barlow's. The Fourth Amendment protects privacy, period. It's not a very great showing to get a special inspection warrant, but I wanted to raise that. Generally speaking, though, the idea of having local agent status, it's a good one. We're going to get much better service, and people like my clients who want to do a good job don't have a problem with that. They really don't. The biggest problems they have predominantly are with making sure that the ordinances don't unfairly prevent the non-conforming aspects of the park from continuing. So this isn't a terribly problematic ordinance.
Okay.
Except for those two little minor things.
And those are relatively minor.
And 10 number E, when you say prompt reporting it to the police department, it's prompt who's supposed to do the prompt reporting?
Maybe the licensee.
So
the operator, the manager, if they're aware of something that they became aware of, then they'd have to report it to the
that one of the mobile homes is?
One of the
or what
residents, if the management becomes aware the resident is breaking the law, we require the manager to report that to the police.
Right, just to be
If
similar
they
to
know
a
it's
bar
a
would be.
crack house or something.
Except
crack-
that we're
crack
not a
trailer.
bar, we're not a tavern, we're not serving alcohol to people. Generally speaking, I'm not aware of many businesses that are, taverns have a special case, obviously, but I'm not aware of many. Here's the point, if we don't do this, you're talking about potentially revoking our license, which is gonna force these people to put their homes up for sale. What if the park owner has no idea at all, and they won't, because you don't know what's going on inside mobile homes. You know, somebody's selling drugs.
You can't report something he doesn't know.
Well, right, then we wouldn't.
But how do
they would
we,
be held
well, how do we
liable.
prove we didn't know it? That's my point. You're putting a duty on a business owner that, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't apply to any other business owner. I've never heard of such a thing.
I'd also like to add something, if I may. This summer, I walked into the West Dallas Police Department to report an incident with one of our residents at the Greenfield Terrace Mobile Home Court. A neighbor had said that they were suspicious of drug activity, and the police had not been contacted yet, but the day I heard about it, walked straight in and made the report. That tenant's gone. So.
But you're a good operator.
And I try to be a good, and I've been an operator for 25 years.
This is about
Yeah.
So
possible
basically,
bad
you did what
operators.
this. Basically, you did what we want you to do in
Exactly.
the ordinance.
That's on my own.
I think good owners are going to. I'm concerned that an absolute duty in the context of, if to the degree that it could form a basis for revoking their license, that's a pretty serious obligation. I'll say it again, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I think if you're, I don't know what's your business, sir?
I'm in the bar and restaurant business.
Okay, well, let's say you're running a hardware store. Obviously shoplifting, you're gonna call in, but if you see somebody whipping a kid abusively, I would assume that as a good citizen, you'd call the police. But do we require every business owner, as a condition of having a seller's permit?
Well, this isn't about a seller's permit.
But
we
it's
don't
a
license
government.
apartments, do we?
We do not.
We do
No,
not
I
license apartments.
understand that.
An apartment wouldn't have we don't license apartments.
Not yet, anyway.
No, not yet.
Yeah, but my point is, in theory, you could say, well, we license you, therefore, we're going to require that you use only Times New Roman font. After all, we're licensing you. How much do you expect just because you have the leverage of a license? That's my point.
Well, the
I
Times
guess
New Roman font's not related to the health, safety, or welfare of the city.
I don't see that affirmatively requiring this. Let me just make the comment. You were mentioning the legislature earlier. Stuff like this is why the legislature is preempting local action. Okay? It's overreaching. And I'm asking you not to do it. That's my polite request. You can do whatever you want, but it's not necessary.
The reason you put this in there, because this is what we have in our other ordinances, or why did?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
What other ordinance?
The alcohol
Other-
records. I'm looking at the
our
other
licensing,
ones,
yeah.
other licensing ordinances. Yes, I'm looking. I believe it's also in the food permit one.
We license barber shops too, correct? Is it in there?
Are they required to report crimes?
I don't know if we license barber shops. No.
We don't?
You might be a.
I thought.
State does.
Oh, it's a state does.
That's a
State
state.
does.
Well,
Individual homeowners?
I've made my point.
Oh. Jewelry store, do you license you?
Is that the worst thing in the world? No, it's just.
Licenses scale.
Yes, and then
Yes.
and from pawnbrokers it says they shall cooperate with police investigations of theft, fraud, burglary, and other violations of city and state laws. To cooperate means calling the police when a violation of the law has occurred.
Pawnbrokers are one of the few pervasively regulated industries that there always has been, because for obvious reasons. I just don't see manufactured home parks as being a pervasively regulated industry. But we can differ on that. So those are our feelings.
Okay, what was the other one? This 10E and which was the other one?
Subparagraph 12. I don't have a problem with the notion that we should keep records. The idea
Oh,
that.
just that who can see the records?
Well, without a, just the police walking in and saying, we want to see the records without a reason. It's unconstitutional.
Well, it's part of I don't believe the hotels in the Los Angeles case that you're talking about were licensed by the city, correct?
Sure they are.
And that was a condition of the licensing. I believe there's a city
Well, look,
ordinance that
here's the
requires.
You can read it.
City officials shall permit
There are
copy of
only
any
three
records necessary
pervasive-
for the investigation of any building health and safety code.
Yeah,
What
that
is
sounds
that?
like, that sounds like if they asked for it, they could, I wanna see a copy of your checkbook. I wanna see if you really did go to Home Depot and spend $300 on your water heater. I,
Once again, this is, we got this in here because we have it in another license, or?
Correct, it's record keeping, so actually a lot of it's for the salvage and recycling centers, it's with the pawnbroker licenses, it's with the alcohol licenses, they have to keep those records. It's pretty standard for and food permits as well, because the health department needs to see their records, so.
but the health department, Mr. Chair,
Alderman Webb.
could the health department go to a restaurant and say, I wanna see invoices as well as receipts to make sure you're buying all your food from certified vendors?
We would only ask that kind of question if we were, say, investigating a foodborne outbreak,
Yeah.
and we wanted to verify lot numbers or where food was purchased if it was linked to a outbreak.
So what would be a health issue that might strike manufactured home? Let's say bed bugs, let's say, I'm just gonna pull this
That isn't
out.
why the police are gonna come, they're gonna come looking to know who is where and trying to find somebody, because they're suspected of a crime.
Yeah, so why can't you provide that upon reasonable notice during business hours?
Why don't you, let me ask you what your reaction would be if somebody came to your door and said, so, I wanna see records documenting who is staying with you at your home. It's a privacy issue.
Alderman Haas isn't licensed, so.
Yeah, and
Well-
and I don't sell my.
But the
I'm not a
Fourth-
hotelier.
I'm just gonna make the point, the Fourth Amendment applies whether you're licensed or not. And
Is this something about people running Airbnbs or VRBOs or short-term
actually,
rentals? Or?
that is another issue, but we're not running Airbnbs. So I made my point. You can do what you want.
We don't have a requirement on length of tenancy, or you don't have a minimum. We don't have a minimum lease requirement. You could rent one. Some of these are rent.
No,
these aren't all.
they're all homeowners.
They're all.
Yeah.
And yours
Everyone
are.
is homeowners.
Yours are.
Yes.
Are all of them in the city, or some of them? The one on 84th Street, I seem to remember some of those were there, and people just rented the whole thing when they moved in. They didn't own the. They didn't own the manufactured home. Are all of those in our city like that? They're all owned by individuals, so they're like condo kind of? Or are some of them,
Kind
I
of.
could just move in
Yes,
there and I could
they-
pay $180 a month and rent this truck?
Well, they
own the mobile home and
There
then
are
they rent the space they're sitting on.
Yeah.
Right. There, around the state, there are plenty of manufactured home parks where some of the units are owned by the park and rented as if they were apartments.
Yeah.
But not, as far as I'm understanding, you and Mike now don't do that.
I do not do that. I can't speak for Mike. He is Hillside.
There may be some other ones. I'm not saying there couldn't be, but
And even if they were rented, we don't have a minimum tenancy requirement. We-
No.
So back to the
Well, these are more,
B&B thing.
manufactured homes are really more of an alternative to their homes. They're
Yeah.
fairly large,
Yeah.
so they're not, people are not looking to move in and move out. This is a residential type setting. They're gonna take nobody wants to move more than they have to.
Well, I'm just thinking, it's not gonna be like an apartment. Or
Heavens,
like
no, like a motel.
Yeah, like a motel.
Alderman Rhodes.
So most of these people are owner occupants.
Yes, yes,
They're
sir.
Yes,
not-
sir.
They don't own it and are renting it out to
No.
Oh, no.
owner occupied.
At this point, we do not allow subletting.
And that's your business policy.
Right.
That is my business policy and it's in our current lease.
Okay.
And we don't.
And how do you know if that happens?
Neighbors
you have
tell
The neighbors
us.
rat them out.
That's right.
Well, the neighbors don't want transients either. We provide housing to people at a price point that provides them a lot of space for the dollar, frankly. And it's a good alternative. There's absolutely nothing wrong with manufactured housing communities. They've evolved over the years, and they certainly have had a salacious image, I think, over the years, and they've gotten better. I think
Darn tornadoes.
yeah, they are a problem.
So number 12, the issue, it says any building health safety code. How far does it go?
Are we setting ourselves up for a
I mean,
challenge on this?
Because somebody can come in and
Well,
say,
not from us.
example is the checkbook. Well, you said you did this, but how do I know? Let me see your, give me a copy of your checkbook stuff. can't imagine somebody doing that, but this would require them to allow them to do that.
Well, I don't know if there'd be, investigating a checkbook would be for a safety code or a building or health code, but I.
Well, but I'm saying, yeah, well, I purchased all those, and I suppose you can have a receipt, you know, instead of going in a checkbook.
Well,
I just
perhaps
don't know.
what we could do is put something where there's an appeal in there. If there's a request and they disagree with it, they can appeal to you with your reasons why that they don't want to give over a certain document.
Yeah, there's, all you need is some way of an error correcting process that requires that the government demonstrate that they have some probable cause why they need the records.
I'd agree with that too, you know, because it, you know, because some of these are open-ended, because
do you have
somebody can come by and say, yes, I think that has to do with health because of da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
You have a municipal
Comes
judge.
back here.
Yes.
Well,
The municipal judge can issue a warrant
right,
like
right.
that.
Great.
You write those. You write those things that do that.
Or it could come to this committee.
And then.
Correct.
Okay, so why don't we work on that? Get something so we have a.
And in light of the recent Los Angeles case, yeah, that's appropriate.
You know, and so how about 10E then, where reporting.
As long, the question, you know, reasonable, the issue is a rule of reason. I guess that's the point. Here's what we don't want. What we don't want is something sensational to happen. Some really bad thing happens. And you know how it goes. The press always is putting, why didn't you stop this? It's easy, everybody's looking for a fall guy. Aha, the manufactured home community, they didn't report that this guy was serially abusing his children.
Right.
You know, and then we wind up getting the license revocation proceedings. Again, if we know about it, I suppose that's different, but that's true, I suspect, of a lot of people. But I guess you're putting a burden on this particular business that I'm not sure is dumped on either, it's certainly not dumped on everybody else.
Well, we have it with other ones, don't we?
Right. Every person who, I mean, if you find a violation, obviously you'd have to vote to do a summons and complaint on it.
Yeah.
So it gets their initial review there. And then if you do decide to do a summons and complaint, then we'd have a full hearing where you decide whether they actually were in violation and what the.
If we're going to revoke the license.
Correct. Which I think in most circumstances you wouldn't take any action in those cases. I mean, it could be if they were cited for the violation, and again, they'd have a hearing, opportunity for hearing in municipal court.
I want to tell you, by the way, I was extremely impressed by the way that you counseled the tavern owners earlier tonight. I was here watching that. I've done a lot of alcohol I mostly represent municipalities over in Dane County, and I come over here to take the bad side. But seriously, that was really good, and it's effective community policing of your licensees. And I certainly have a good comfort level with the way you approach these things. It's not the people sitting at the table here at all. No. It's who may come afterward. You know.
Right.
So if we could if there could be some language there that would talk about reasonably known to the owner, or knew or should have known even.
That's my question. The owner, like my business, I'm the agent for my corporation, and I'm the owner operator. But I'm going to assume a lot of the owners don't live on the. You don't live.
I do not.
No, and that's probably the general case. Now you hire a manager. Do you have a manager who lives?
I'm the manager.
You're the manager. So there's nobody on the premises that's connected to your corporation as an employee.
My sister's a salesperson that has an office in the front of Mayfair Village Mobile Home Court.
Does she live there?
And I have a resident manager at Greenfield Terrace, our other court.
Okay, so you have an on-premise eyes and ears.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that all the good parks do.
It's not the good parks we're worried about.
But there, and I would hasten to add that only the tiniest park wouldn't have that
because it's to the owner's benefit. Yes. They know what's going on.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know. I think because you're saying that if we're going to go to revoke a license, we do a summons and complaint, and you have to come in front of you, and so we would basically have to prove that they weren't cooperative with it because that they knew about it.
Right. The prosecutor would have to prove that. Yes.
So
again, I'm looking for something in there that would say of any violation of an ordinance, statute, or other law of which the owner knew or should have known. I even go so far as to say should have known. I mean, if you can prove that 20 people an hour were stopping in at a particular mobile home or manufactured home on the property, that's a should have known thing there. You should know that.
What if you put the word "when possible" right in front of that?
Something along those lines.
Well, the known or should have known.
That's more of a legal term.
That's
better.
known or should have known is better than.
Yeah, when possible makes it a little bit too get out of jail free.
Ambiguous, yeah.
Is that okay with the committee?
Oh, yes.
Let's ask the two lawyers on this end.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you're not rendering an opinion.
No, that's all right. Yeah. I'm a lawyer too.
My condolences.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So if we,
bad career choice early in life. You can't do much about later.
so do we want to vote on this as amended, or do you just want to hold it and make the changes?
We could.
Because we have there's the other one also. I guess safety and development has
Yes.
some going.
Yes.
And if there's going to be any changes made on that one, you can do them together, whatever.
Might as well
I
do
don't-
it together. Then we'll hold it for now and then.
Okay.
Again, I'm sure that just a couple of tweaks will make that fine. The other one has some other issues, which we can, I'll write, just got hired last week, and I'll write a letter about them.
Mr. Chair?
Own way.
And I don't know if it's on this one or the other one. A deck no bigger than 25 square feet?
A little small.
It's very small.
A little small.
That's 5 by 5.
Yeah.
Well, that's a tiny deck. I mean, was that existing, do you know, or do we copy that from something else?
Let me look. I think it's new.
Yeah, that's new. I'm just wondering how we came to 25 square feet.
That's what Ed would have known. What he chose the numbers on that.
Well, just to make a point, the state law says that there's a limited tax exemption from personal property taxes for 50 square foot decks in one context.
Well, I'm just trying to picture if you're going to put, say, a chair and a table on it.
You can't. That's a porch. That's a stoop.
Yeah, that's that's one thing.
Is it big enough to put anything?
Well, it has to stay 5 feet away from the neighbor's home.
Yeah.
It's detached. And we have been constructing typically 5 or 6 foot wide by maybe 12-ish feet long. Is pretty standard. A few of them are longer. We always have them draw a diagram with the specs of what it's going to be constructed of for my pre-approval, and then once I get it, then I have them send that or take that drawing to City of West Dallas for a permit. I explain that when they're renting or buying the home and renting the space, everything goes through City of West Dallas that's on the outside of that house. Everything. And I don't believe that we've had any or many issues through all these years. But to go 5 by 5, I thought, ugh.
It's a little tight.
Was that?
That's just basically steps.
Yeah, you'd be grandfathered in. I'm just saying we're essentially going to be preventing anybody from building new decks.
Well, but do you mean the whole court is grandfathered? And if somebody new moves into that mobile home, they would still be grandfathered in?
Yes.
Well, that's one point. I know
referring
that's
to the
not.
whole court is grandfathered in the future as well. This is for new courts?
Right. Any new.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That are not existing.
This is new decks. Any new decks would be.
No.
No.
No, she's saying any new courts that open up.
Yeah, right.
That
'Cause
makes a difference.
You can't really, as I did some research on it, and you can't really, as new people move in, you really can't change the grandfathering in for old and new because they expect turnover and those types of things. So basically, you're whatever was in 1954 and 1972 is pretty much what you guys are going under.
So that would a lot of this would really only apply the tightening.
Well,
would really only apply to new locations. If someone were to open a new one.
Correct.
Just to make it, I don't know if you want to get into that because it's apparently with another committee, but the general point I would make is that the legislature stepped in 2014 and adopted Act 314, I think it is, or maybe it's 347. But anyway, they adopted a very broad definition of what is non-conforming in manufactured home communities context. Because we were having trouble around the state with communities saying that, well, once you take a old manufactured home off the pad, it's no longer, you've
lost everything.
You've lost the non-conforming and that pad has to be retired. Really? Wow.
So we have a lot of old manufactured homes.
Okay. Well, we'll let him argue that one at 16 development.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I don't even think I'm going to argue. I'm just going to write him a letter. Thanks.
With parking at all or not?
Is that on 921? I don't think it is.
No, that's on the safety and development side.
Parking is a problem the way worded, so.
Okay.
But we appreciate this. Thank you very much for your attention and your
problem.
respect.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna hold that one. So, next thing we have is items.
Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
15 and 16.
I thought you were gonna be a former clerk of circuit court when I saw your name.
Yeah, but there is.
This is communication.
Gary T. He was Gary J.
Communication about 57 bar.
J?
Where do we sit on these?
I called Mr. Lau today, and I told him he's still, the $5,000 judgment is still in effect. He paid $250 toward it, but I explained to him why he's had a judgment taken against him. So I think he understands now, but still, judgment's still out there, still valid. And Andy,
How long's it been? Long time.
He was in November, but the personal property taxes, I don't think we received full payment on
They're
those
not
either.
paid in full either.
No.
And that was a stipulation by the end of January, he became
Thank you.
full.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Thank
that
you
was the
very
second
much.
time.
So do we want to issue a summons and complaint? Get his attention?
I would say yes.
You guys just have a boilerplate on that one now? You just fill in the name and the address?
Essentially.
Okay, so I say,
Yeah.
do we need, does consensus, do we need an actual vote?
You need to vote, yeah.
We need a vote. Okay, that's a vote.
Move to issue summons and complaint.
Second.
Okay, Haas a second?
Yes.
Second.
Attorney Haas.
Alderman Haas. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries. Okay, we got summons complaint matter against Edward Brown for the 7 West Beach. Was he asked to be here tonight?
Okay. I gave it to the police department to
17
serve
and
him.
18.
And he served his sister, but that wasn't on my instructions to serve, and that's not legally bound to serve him. So I was gonna see if he was gonna show up tonight. What I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna do an alternative service by certified mail. So we also had our process server go out when I discovered the officer's error, and had tried to have Edward and Anna served, and they weren't able to serve them. So, but he did call Ann today and said he did get a copy of the summons and complaint, but that's not gonna be legally sufficient in order to take action at this time. So
So we gotta hold these.
yes.
I know
Okay.
another address he may be available with that. I know another address.
Oh, and we could just do it by certified mail though, under the statute, we'll be fine.
Okay, so then we have discussion regarding 15-16 Class B license. What do we have here? What do we?
That would be Vanny's Kitchen again.
Vanny's Kitchen.
What's going on with him? What's going on? We just have done
He
nothing.
still hasn't gotten his Class B beer or wine license. He hasn't satisfied the requirements.
Okay.
Are they, but they're not open. Are they open? No.
No.
I don't
thought they
know. We
were
weren't
gonna
notified.
switch over to, wait,
Is that the gas station?
That's the gas
gas
station across from the old
they were
Sandwich.
gonna switch over to a,
Convenience store.
yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
with a Class B and a Class C.
They're
That's it.
closed.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
closed.
can we just, let's just pass someone's complaint, just end this whole thing.
Yep.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
We got Barzak?
Second.
Okay, Alderman Weigel seconded before Alderman Wilson. So,
Sorry.
for summons and complaint. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Take care of that. Discussion relative to bond amounts for underage alcohol violations. Did everybody get that email, or was it just me?
This one right here?
Just you.
Oh,
I think that's when they printed off tonight.
okay, because Marty, I emailed it to Marty to show him, okay. Did everybody see that? The license houses, let's see, we want to raise it from 187 to 691. Why an extra buck?
Yeah, that's on the bail schedule, because there's like a percentage they do, so yeah,
okay.
yes.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel.
a couple things. On something like this, I'd like to know how we sit with the neighboring communities. Do we know what other communities are hitting up on this?
I do not know.
Okay. Also, the comparison to the cigarettes, I don't think you can directly compare, because the drinking age is 21, which means that when an 18, 19, or 20-year-old goes in and orders a beer or goes to the liquor store and buys a bottle of booze, they're legally adults and they're responsible for their actions. But with the cigarettes, it's 18, And I always thought that we always kind of treated people like under the age of 18. They're minors. They're not really responsible for their actions. That's why there's a higher burden to protect them from making their own mistakes. You know, which is where I could kind of see if the drinking age was 18, or if we had a higher fee for serving 15, 16, 17-year-olds alcohol. I just think I don't think it's a direct comparison. So to go, well, because we charge so much for tobacco, we should charge that much for alcohol. There was something else too.
It's not for the person who's purchasing it. It's
No,
for the person
it's
who's
selling
it.
But it's the same thing for if you sell tobacco to us. You could sell tobacco to an 18, 19, and 20-year-old.
Correct, and that's legal.
Yeah, but the 17-year-old again is a minor.
Right.
They're not responsible for their actions.
Right.
So the retailer has a higher burden to protect the community because our poor little 17-year-olds are doing things they're not responsible for.
So his bond should even be higher than $691 to make him more responsible.
Well, I think $691 is a lot of money for selling somebody a pack of cigarettes. Also, you know, I think how often are these tickets written other than when we do compliance checks? Do we know how many? Is this ticket really only written when we do compliance checks? How many other times?
I'm guessing maybe that some are at a party, but I would think most of them are done in compliance checks. I don't know that for sure, but that'd be my guess.
Yeah.
I don't recall ever
And this
having
isn't-
somebody in front of us that
is
was
this-
not a compliance check.
But
Well, they wouldn't be in front of you because they don't have a license.
Yeah, so this 691 would go to like a family who allows their kids to have an underage beer party at their house, and be $691 per minor at their house also.
If we could prove that they actually gave them the alcohol.
If they bought the half barrel of beer and sat there and the kids were there. And,
correct.
Yeah. So this isn't just for licensed establishments. This 691 is going to be for anybody.
Right.
Okay. What about minors shoplifting alcohol, or anyone shoplifting alcohol? What's the fine for that? Is there a different fine for if a 20-year-old shoplifts alcohol? Is
cheaper to steal it.
Yeah. Because even then, he's not getting this ticket though.
No, the retail theft would be cheaper than the $691, but that you wouldn't be charging it to the person giving.
Allowing the theft to be the
right, because it's a retail theft and they don't have their consent.
You know, and then the other thing I was thinking is, if 18, 19, or 20-year-old goes to the liquor store and buys a case of beer, that has a different impact on the community than if an 18 or 19 or 20-year-old goes into a bar and orders one beer. Because that case of beer is going to end up in a basement or a back seat of a car with other underage kids drinking it. And I'm not advocating that we charge per drink on the fine. I'm just saying there's a lot of other things going on here.
I think they're both illegal.
Yeah, they're both illegal.
Simple as that.
But they have a higher magnitude of impact.
Both illegal. Doesn't matter.
And it goes for.
Well, that becomes delivery. Just like with marijuana, there's a size at which it's considered personal use, and then there's the size at which it's with intent to deliver.
But alcohol's not regulated, so it's just immaterial.
Alcohol
It's just
is regulated.
purely immaterial. But
The judge could always, depending if there's a trial as well,
Yeah.
if
Matter
it's
if
one
it's a
beer, he
six-pack
could always
of beer,
lower the
case of
forfeiture
beer.
because the judge has that
Yeah.
power
Yeah.
to do that as well. And that's
It's all
something the
illegal.
prosecutor could do, gives us more negotiating power than $187 does. But you also could put it somewhere in between there as well.
I'd like to know what other communities are charging.
Okay, so we just want to hold this until we find out.
And I don't know if this is going to be.
It's only for discussion. So
Yes. Okay. So now on discussion also, Paulie reached out to me because he got caught in the last compliance check, and 2 tickets were issued.
That's just what I was going to ask.
Yes. One was for the actual service, and then another was for allow an underage person to loiter on a licensed premises.
Well, that's new. They never used to do that.
No. And I understand the value in it because I think I said this in an email to you. When I'll say minors, I'll call them minors rather than saying 18, 19, not a majority. What do we call it?
Minor.
We'll call them a minor.
One word, minor.
Okay, minor. I thought minor was under 18. Okay, but for the purposes of this, okay, we want to know who the actual bartender was who served, and we also want to keep track of locations where this occurs, so that we can see if there's a pattern. So that when the guy comes in to get his license renewed, and we see, well, you served underage at 3 different bars because you got fired at each of those bars, or if we have a bar that routinely has that problem because they're not training their staff well, or that's just the nature of it. So I understand the value of writing those 2 tickets. But now Paulie apparently has a policy. He doesn't allow people in under age 21. So like if two 19-year-olds want to go to just have a fish fry or have wings, his general policy is no, he's not going to serve them. That's what he told me.
Serve them food.
It's not even going to serve them food. But he's allowed to. I think they're allowed to be on a licensed premises for the purposes of buying food, right?
No, well, unless it has to be a restaurant where they have to have more of the profits.
Well, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say more of the profit.
The
It's
primary.
it says something about substantial. It's a very vaguely worded phrase as when you're a bar and when you're a restaurant. Okay, and I can speak specifically to my business. I spend way more payroll on my food service than I do on my liquor service. I spend way more utility fees, electric bill, that kind of stuff related to food service. My entire food service is allowed on the entire premises.
But it's all based on sales, not what you spend.
Well, no, it's based on a variety of things that all are supposed to be taken into consideration. There's no cut and dried line.
I thought it was sales.
It's principal business.
Yeah, it says principal business.
Did not know that. I
Okay,
thought it was
it
sales.
couldn't be the name of your business. The name of my business is Ben's Genuine Bar and Grill. I put bar first. I think I'm a bar. But if you went to if you went to say Applebee's or BW3s and said, "What's your principal business?" I don't know what they'd say. I don't know what profit Applebee's makes.
Understand what you're saying. Where are you going with it?
I'm just saying, why are we writing a ticket to somebody that is a restaurant? On the compliance check, we sent somebody in to buy beer. He was sold the beer. We wrote the ticket for the beer.
Correct.
Now we're writing a ticket also for allow to loiter on the premises.
I totally disagree with that ticket.
The second ticket.
Correct.
I do too. I think we're writing 2 different tickets for one offense. I understand
So
the
it's
value.
the second ticket is for the same person.
Yeah, well, no, the second ticket went to the establishment, I guess.
But it was for the same person.
The same compliance, that
Right,
one
same
person, the 20-year-old on the compliance check.
And how did he lawyer?
It's not lawyer. It's
Not on the agenda either, so I don't really want to get into much of a discussion about. We just talk about bond amounts.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay, find out how much.
Let's put that on the agenda.
But next time we'll put up for the whole, so we can discuss the whole thing.
And for this one, we're going to find out what the average is.
What our
and
neighbors are,
doing, so we can get something that's comparable.
I think that's it.
Have a closed session or
no? Do we need
No,
a
the
closed session?
closed session was supposed to be for
Okay.
for the someone's complaint, which really wasn't.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody want to sit here?
Nope. I got a 6.